live on YouTube. And here we go with everybody here. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Full Funnel Summit in course session. Today, I'm super excited to sit together with Arthur and Nicholas from Chili Piper team. We are going, as I announced, we are going to chat about how to go from leaky funnel to revenue flywheel. And I believe this is a fantastic session, by the way, to wrap up the entire Full Funnel Summit. We spoke a lot about different revenue operations, about account-based marketing, about the problems in the modern marketing and sales processes, right? We spoke a lot that so many B2B companies are not getting and are not leveraging customer insights, and that's why they create lots of friction points in their marketing and sales process. So I believe you guys learn a lot today because Nicholas and Arthur, they prepared several case studies, how they influence the dark funnel, how do they use customer insights to improve the leads hands-off process, and basically how they created revenue flywheel at Chili Piper. So stay tuned. But before we'll move forward, gents, thanks a lot for joining me today.
Yeah, super excited to have this chat here. It's something me and Nicholas have been thinking about quite a while in terms of the conversion points in the funnel and how do you really get all revenue facing teams acting in unison to create that revenue flywheel. So excited to dive into this.
And maybe I'll give a bit a quick introduction about myself. So I'm the co-founder and co-CEO of Chili Piper. Co-CEO, actually, I founded Chili Piper with my wife, Alina, and she's the other CEO. We share this responsibility. But I'm also the acting chief marketing officer at Chili Piper. So I'm a CMO here, and I've been CMO for more than a year now. The way it happened, and Andre, maybe we discussed that last year within the early days. We at Chili Piper sell to sales and marketing teams. And so I was talking to a lot of marketers, and it really felt like that saying that said the cobbler's sons have no shoes, you know, like we were saying to marketers, but our marketing was not quite where I wanted it to be. And it was puzzling because we had a team that looked solid and it seemed that we were doing the right thing. So eventually it's like a bias of entrepreneurs. When I don't understand something, I just take it over. I'm going to just go and understand and why is your marketing not working. So I did, and I think that together with the team, we went on a journey that was very enlightening. So we really understood a lot of the new dynamics, and and of course, if you read here and there, you get the bits and pieces, but I think we've been able to put it into a coherent thought process of why marketing has changed, how it has changed, and what to do about it. So this presentation that we have today is very much what we've learned, or what I've learned ever since taking over at CMO in last January, so January 2021. Basically, how the industry has changed, how markets have changed, and how the dark funnel is now the main driver of business for companies. And then what to do about it, how to take action to actually be more effective in this new world. So this is the two parts of the presentation I'd like to cover. But as we pointed out, Andre, we always interested in making sure the audience can ask questions. So if there are already some questions, we can start with that, and otherwise we get started.
Absolutely. So guys, today we host this session on Zoom, not on Goldcast. You are very welcome to join the discussion. If you want to ask your question live, you can just DM me and I will call you, and you can just switch on your camera and ask your question live, or feel free to leave your questions in the Zoom chat. I will ask them on your behalf and we'll cover everything. And I'm personally a big fan of Chili Piper. Guys really operate in a very competitive market, and the way how they create a demand for their service, for their product, how they build the community around Chili Piper, this is fantastic. So I believe we all can learn a lot. But before we'll move forward, 2 questions, guys. First of all, where are you all coming from? Leave in a Zoom chat where you're all joining us. I'm in Split, Croatia. Nenad is also from Croatia. Arthur from Toronto. Anna
Yeah, I'm in
Paris.
Brooklyn myself.
Mika, Toronto. Niklas from Brooklyn. Christian, Toronto. So Toronto dominates today. Is it because of Arthur?
Who knows, maybe.
I like, we have some brave people from Ukraine.
Yeah,
Congrats,
we have
guy.
some people
I
from
love
Ukraine.
that. Love that.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us despite of all the madness that is happening in Ukraine. One more question, guys. Who of you follows Chili Piper? Type plus if you follow Chili Piper on social media, or maybe you are subscribed to their newsletter, and minus if you're not following Chili Piper.
Well, I guess if they don't, you can always go and follow quickly and then come back and put a plus. That will work. We don't ask for how long have you been following Chili Piper. Okay.
So 1 and 2
Not that many yet.
Yeah. I'm a customer as well. That's good.
Good.
Okay. Kartik is following. Very good. I highly recommend, if you guys looking to learn about demand generation, that should be your go-to blog, because they are sharing always practical advice. So following on LinkedIn, follow Chili Piper and Outplay. Nice. I don't, but I like the product. We use it and Calendly for some reason. Nice. Good to know. Cool. Thank you so much. So that was a quick test. So let's go. We have the final presentation of our full funnel summit. We have a lot to cover. Don't hesitate to ask your questions in a Zoom chat. The recording will be available. I will send you probably an hour later after this workshop. Also, you can find it on our YouTube channel. So you'll receive everything. So the topic is how to go from leaky funnel to revenue flywheel. Let's go, gents.
All right, let's do it. So as I mentioned, it's a presentation in 2 parts. The first part is about the new world of marketing, so how the market has changed. And then the second part is what to do about it. So I use this model that if you Google funnel on the internet, this is probably the first diagram that showed up. It's the what I would call the old way of doing marketing. What's funny that people still use the terms, like if you see here, says MQL, SQL opportunities all over. So even though that model was invented like something like 20 years ago with the launch of the likes of Marketo and Eloqua, things have changed dramatically, but most marketers I talk to are still using the same concept that reflects this funnel. So what is wrong with this funnel? So let me first explain how it works. In the old days, you get what's called a raw lead. So some interest by somebody. And then you try to capture that person's email address. And then you would do what's called nurturing. And you have to know that what's called marketing automation is actually mostly email automation. It was about capturing the email address and then emailing that person on and on and on until they come back and to your website and take an action. So that nurturing cycle was central to everything the marketing do. And that has completely changed. So that method is completely ineffective. Why has it changed? Because the rise of what they call the dark funnel, and the dark funnel is quite simply the fact that people are going to have better sources of information about a vendor than the vendor itself. So if you're looking for something, actually, if you're looking for increasing your coverage rate on your website, you're not going to directly come to Chili Piper and say, tell me what I should do. You're going to ask other people, your friends, in your network, on LinkedIn, in the many Slack channels you're part of. And that's how you're going to build your knowledge around a particular problem and a particular solution. The company that came up with the idea of a dark funnel is 6 Sense, and it's an interesting concept because it's dark from the concept from the perspective of the vendors, but from the perspective of the prospect, it's not dark at all. They actually have all freedom to look for the information they want. They're under no pressure. It can be very friendly, and it's a much more pleasant experience than receiving email from a vendor. It's also much more credible. So people find all this information in the network, and as a result, it takes multiple steps and multiple back and forth before they're going to actually engage with the vendor. I'm going to show that. Gartner said that nowadays prospects only spend 17% of their time with the vendor when it comes to researching a particular product. They just ask everything else. And it's not surprising. They are going to research online. They're going to talk to their friend. They're going to go through independent, offline, and some other sources. So you can see what used to be a very linear funnel of capturing a lead and nurturing until the lead is ready, to this. This is a representation of how it can go in twists and turns before somebody is ready to engage with you. So start maybe from a LinkedIn post, and then a coworker mentioned it. And then they go to a webinar, maybe like today, somebody mentioned chili pepper, and I think, well, I'll check it out because I didn't know about chili pepper, right? Then they see a discussion on Facebook, and then they see the CEO talks about it. And eventually, there's enough of these touch points that you're going to take action. You're going to say, look, you know what, that really sounds like something that would be of value to me, and I'm going to do it. And when that action happens is the time when the vendor becomes aware of the fact that the prospect is actually interested. But all these touch points have happened without the vendor knowledge.
And let me interrupt you
go
for
ahead.
a second. Guys, quick question. Do you influence dark funnel at your organization or no? I'm curious to see. So type plus in a Zoom chat if you influence the dark funnel, you engage, you create additional engagement, right? And type minus if you do nothing. Let's see. Jen plus, Erica, yes, Christian plus, Fiza plus, Matt, yes, we influence the dark funnel. Nice. That's really good to see. Sanzi, no.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, we're going to share how we influence the dark funnel at Chili Pepper, but I'd love to hear what other people have too and how they go about it. This is a reasonably new practice to understand the dark funnel, so I'd love to hear what other people are doing.
Yeah, I know, Matt. Yeah, we're very active in support groups related to our topic, e-commerce subscriptions. I'd love, Matt, if you're open to it, we'd love to have you on live and hear a little bit more about how you're influencing the dark funnel. Love it. Andre, he's open to it.
Cool. Maybe I'll take through the steps we do, and then Matt, we'll bring you in at the end. That sounds good. Okay.
Awesome.
So before we talk about the influence of the dark funnel, there's one aspect that I want to emphasize, and I want to bring it up immediately, because there's one major consequence that is actually very favorable to our solution at Chili Pepper, and that's what we call the straight to meeting imperative. So I'm going to tell you a little story. Before I took over as CMO, we were about to launch a new product. And the product was a few months away from being ready. So my team did what most teams do. They put a page, they say, this product is going to be awesome. Join the waiting list, right? If you're interested in hearing more, join the waiting list. And we had a few hundred people join the waiting list. They did that without me knowing. And true enough, once the product was ready, we sent emails to the waiting list. And I think we got 2 people who clicked on the product game, even though we had 450 people on the waiting list. It's just these days, if you're going to send an email to somebody, most likely it's going to go to spam. Most likely they've moved on. So the last thing you want to do is capture an email and say, oh, I'll email these people. It just simply doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't work. People move on, they don't read their email, it goes to spam. So what you want to do, if you want an engagement with somebody, what my team should have done at the time and what we're doing now, is what we call the straight to meeting imperative. If somebody's interested, get a meeting, engage, understand do all the discovery work, do all the influence work, move there. So if you don't do that, if you get people to wait, and either because it's your process to say we'll call you back, or because you think it's good enough to capture an email, you're going to end up with what we call the leaky funnel, right? So massive leaks, and where you had managed to build interest in people. So in our case, we had 450 people were interested in these products. We had managed to get them interested, and we got 2 of them who actually took action on it. So that's not leaky. It's like a massive perdition, right? Massive loss. So the straight to meeting imperative is also strongly related to dark funnel, because when people sign up, when they come to your website, they already know. Right? It's not like you're going to educate with an email. They already know, so they are ready. And if they're not completely ready, then it's a perfect time to still take a meeting, because that's the time to tip them over, right? So this is what we call a stage meeting imperative. And the way to do that is to put all the tools in place around this concept of inbound conversion, meaning these people are now on your website. They already know, they're very educated, they've asked their friends, so you want to convert them ideally to a customer, a close one, but at minimum to a demo and a pipeline and potential for revenue. So that's something I want to really emphasize, since the presentation is called From Leaky Funnel to Flywheel. That's a major leaky part, and I'm amazed that people are still doing it, that people are still capturing email like in the old days. And I'm not criticizing newsletters. A lot of people have a business around newsletters that are helpful. So you subscribe to a newsletter, and then you look forward to it. You read that newsletter. But that's very different from like what we did, like tell me, join the waiting list for the product, or give you an email. Because that you've not really subscribed to. A newsletter is a product. You subscribe to it, you attend it. But giving your email address on a website, say, hey, call me someday to talk on the product is a very different phenomenon. It just simply doesn't work anymore. So this concept of inbound conversion. Okay. So now we are going to talk about specifically what we do to take advantage of the dark funnel, influence the dark funnel, and make sure that this brings to demand on the website that, as I said, converts immediately to a meeting. Maybe before I do that, should we ask a question on how many people still have a goal of capturing emails from their visitors, as opposed to just go straight to meeting? Maybe you can ask.
Yeah, let's do the check.
Yeah.
So guys, type plus if you are capturing emails and then send these emails to sales team, and type minus if you just embed the calendar so people can book the inquiry and the call with an SDR or account executive right away. So plus or minus. I'm curious.
The plus means still email, minus the moved on to meetings.
We don't have tech to go straight to the meeting. I believe Chili Piper solves this issue.
Obviously. And then I'm curious to hear maybe more like a qualitative things. As I mentioned, we had a very low return on our emails. People think, is everybody experience the same thing? That and I'm not again talking about newsletters, because newsletters are great. I'm talking about the idea of nurturing their email. So following up with the prospects after a webinar or something like that. Is anybody finding that it's still working for them? It's a good way to think of it. Anybody in the audience think email is working for me? No problem. Is that a plus from the previous answer, or it's a plus that yes, email is working for me, Karthik?
Yeah, let's do another check. So please type plus if this tactic with capturing emails still work for you, and minus if it doesn't work. Let's do this.
Yeah.
I think this is also a pretty interesting question, because I think a lot of people would argue that it is working for them, but not many people would know that, yeah, as we mentioned, and we see across B2B tech, more than 50% of those high intent demo requests never make it to a first meeting. So I've spoken with tons of people that said, yeah, you know what, email's working great for me. I'm converting at 30 to 40%, but that's still 50, 60, 70% of people that said, hey, I want to speak to sales, and they never did. So interesting question.
I will tell you, that was, I don't know, Paul, if you are here with us, just type away for something that I will know that you are here. Paul asked several times great questions during our summit, and he asked our speakers, Chris, Walker, Pepli, like, what do you guys think about gated versus ungated content? Because the goal, traditionally, we think about gated content as like a tactic to capture the demand, right? And then send this, if we can then enrich accounts using the email, right? And if this company fits firmographic ACP, we send this contact to sales, and basically sales are going to follow up and book a meeting. And I believe that approach is doomed because there is no buying intent. So the fact that I'm downloading the book or the fact that I'm watching this session right now doesn't mean that I'm an active customer, that I'm in a buying mode, right? I'm willing to learn more about the topic. And that's the problem. But that said, I don't, basically, I disagree with the statement that gated content doesn't work. Examples. This webinar is gated, right? You need to sign up, otherwise you won't be able to join. But nobody is going, just as you know me and Chili Piper, nobody is going to spam you and say, hey, now your goal is to book the software, book the call, for example, with Arthur and purchase the software. No way. So it's an educational webinar, right, to connect with our community. Next one, newsletters. The fact that Nicholas mentioned, I know some of you are reading our full funnel newsletter and we always get positive feedback. I'm a big fan of Chili Piper newsletter. They're really nailing the format and it's really actionable and insightful. So, but again, it's gated content. How can you receive newsletter if you don't leave your email, right? No chance. Next one, content hubs. So we use content hubs and we do it strategically. We have dedicated content hubs for account-based marketing, for ABM on LinkedIn, for sales enablement, for go-to-market strategy. And this is a good insight for us because now we know, okay, these people are interested in the topic and we know how to start the conversation with these people, right? So we reach out, ask like, is it your priority? Do you plan to do it? So we can share additional materials. And basically we know that we must build relationship first. And that's the insight. What is broken, I believe, is the approach when you just got the contact and reach the account, send it to sales and say, hey, now we generated MQL, go and sell them our product. So that's the problem.
Yeah, I'll see also in the comments, I agree with you. In the comments, some people are talking about outreach, so sales reps outreaching to prospects. So this is also something that we do a lot at Chili Pepper. We have a large SDR team, and that, I do not put that in the same bucket as the email marketing, right? So, and that's actually the very reason why the SDR movement was invented, is because at the emails from marketing were no longer effective. Then you had to find a new way to engage, and the idea of an SDR is to do one-on-one engagement. So, for example, Chili Pepper, as you understand, we have our SDR screenshot the form on company's website and then screenshot the thank you page and say, look, the prospect is using a thank you page. They're going to wonder how long it's going to take them. And you're probably losing more than half your prospects for that process. And so we send them is very specific that it's their thank you page. So the SDR has a role to play. And that's typically done by email. So I exclude that email from my comment on the fact that email is no longer working. The SDR motion is definitely working well these days for many companies, including us. We actually had a record month this month of how much pipeline we generate from a SDR. But again, that's a very different approach to email. It's a very people say personalized, but it's not personalized, it's customized, because it's not so much about the person, it's about the company. So you're sending email about the company, and that's working very well. Okay, so having said that, now let me tell you what we've come up with at Chili Pepper and how we think of our marketing. We call it the all-in multi-touch. engagement model. So let me give you a bit of background. It all started with this decade-old problem of attribution. So you're a marketer, you spend money on paid ads, and we look at how many demos come from this ad, people clicking on it and booking a demo, and very few. So then the demand gen person will say, well, that's because I influence other parts of the business, right? So you're not giving me full credit for the work I do. So I said, well, how do we do that? And so this is long research on attribution. How can you attribute success to the different motions in marketing? And that's a difficult problem. So at the beginning, we tried to say, okay, who do we give credit to? And then eventually we thought, that's not really the right question. How do we attribution we do credit to? The right question is, what is the most effective way to get a prospect to go from knowing nothing about you to actually becoming pipeline, right? What are the steps? And when we found is that once you get a first engagement with a company or a person, you're much more likely to be able to bring that person to a customer. And you're much more likely by having a repeating touch. So you know when it's what has worked so well in B2C in the world of retargeting. This is a fascinating experience that Facebook did. At the beginning, they offered two options with Facebook when you were spending money, especially for B2C advertisers. You could say, give me all the demographic information about person, that's how I will target. So I will say people who are in their 30s, male, wealthy, and that's what I'm targeting. And then the B leg was, I don't give a shit who they are and what they do. Give me people who've come to my website and I retarget them, right? I'd say, I don't know who they are. I don't care who they are. I'm going to use retargeting. They've come to our website. I'm going to retarget them. And that was 10x the conversion. Retargeting was 10x conversion. In other words, what's a good signal is not so much whether somebody has the same profile as your other customers, has this person already shown some interest. It's an order of magnitude more stronger signal that somebody has shown some interest as opposed to somebody who looks like my other customers. That's what made this huge success of retargeting. That's what made companies like AdRoll and Criteo and others be so successful, because it's a fundamental understanding of human behavior that it matters a lot more what action they've already taken to see if they are going to take further action, as opposed to who they are and what profile they have. So we're taking advantage of that chili pepper on a B2B approach. So the idea of a multi-touch engagement, this is not the, so that in these old days, this is the way it used to work. Oh, no, this is not the slide I'm going to. I'm going to go back to this slide. In the old days, there was linear funnel. Now what we do at Chili Pepper is that we deploy multiple motion to try to get a first engagement on a particular account. So let's say Sendoso. Sendoso is actually a customer, but let's imagine it's not. So we see Sendoso, we think that could be a customer. Now we're going to try to target them in our ads. We're going to try to target them in our cadences. We're going to try to target them in our community until we get the first engagement. When we get that first engagement, we immediately update Salesforce with the fact that that particular account is now has shown some interest. And it doesn't have to be that they booked a demo, because that would be fine. It's just that they replied to an email or they clicked on an ad and maybe they didn't take action, but they do that. And from there, so that's the concept of all-in multi-touch. From there, we're going to make sure that this account is being targeted by all our motion, from SDR to paid ads to community to social, so that they basically see Chili Pepper everywhere, right? All of a sudden, you're the guy from Sendoso, you just reply to an email, and next thing, wherever you are, you see Chili Pepper. And it's the same idea of the B2C retargeting. It's like what happened when I go to buy. I'm a big John Varvatos fan, I go buy Untitled Varietals. And whenever I see a jacket there, then I see it for the rest of my life. Everywhere I go, the jacket is there. And so it's the same concept that somebody was interested in chili pepper at, say, Sandoso, and they're going to see us everywhere. We call it all-in multi-touch. It's taken quite a lot of work technically to make it happen because we have to capture these signals from everywhere. So we have a team that we call our analytics team, deploying in this case Snowplow, Snowflake, and a lot of important tools of this nature. And we're now operating under this all-in multi-touch. And as part of this all-in multi-touch, it means that the attribution is very different, because we no longer have to say which action actually booked that demo. We're looking at the different steps that have influence, and we give credit to all these different steps, right? From the first engagement all the way to what we call the booking context that books the demo. So that's our approach. And I'm going to give you more details on how we do that. Before that, maybe we just check the poll. So on the slide, actually, it'd be curious to see if anybody using a similar model of this all-in multi-touch, the idea of, I know a lot of you guys have already moved to account-based marketing, so trying to target accounts as opposed to target individuals. But I'm curious if people have know this concept of multi-motion orchestration. Maybe how would we do that? Put a plus? You want to put
Let's do it like always. So plus if you are doing multi-touch, and minus if no. Let's do a quick check. Matt, no. Yeah, so type plus if you do multi-touch engagement, and minus if you don't do multi-touch. First time I heard the term.
And Nicholas, do you think, I know Matt was talking about how he influences and converts demand. Should we bring him up on stage, or maybe wait?
Yeah, that's a good time. Matt, you in? Just talk about how you, perfect timing actually, since you said you have not talked about the all-in multi-touch, but you did talk about your dark funnel. All right, let's do it.
Yeah, just a second. I will let Matt join us.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Yes.
hello.
Hi. Sure. So just a lot of what Nicholas was talking about, we were running into issues where honestly, retargeting ads we weren't getting direct attribution or conversion from retargeting ads. And our initial email sequence was pretty dead, in the sense of like, no matter what I did to test it, it wasn't really working. So what we started doing is we got really, really active in social groups. So we're e-commerce SaaS. So we're like a subscription platform, and our main channel is on WooCommerce. And so there's tons of support groups and questions out there. Developers, designers are always trying to figure out, like, how do I make my website product page look like this? Or how do I add this kind of functionality? So there's people that are out there trying to do that on Facebook, Quora, Reddit, you name it. And so what we started doing is, this is just the last couple of months, really in December, is I have a couple of VAs overseas, and then myself, and I trained them up with kind of what we wanted to do. And so we create posts that answer these types of common questions in these channels, but we also go and actively like comment and respond on all of them. And so it's kind of like, if you go look up a solution for WooCommerce subscriptions on WooCommerce on any of those platforms, you will see a reference to AutoShip Cloud or QPilot. Like, we're on everything now. So the last, say, 6 weeks, I get a lot of confirmation now on sign up. First of all, our signups the last 2 months are like up the most they've ever been. And that's also partly SEO. So our own SEO that we're driving, some initial research, people are finding us, reading an article about something is helping kick some of that off. But people are telling me, oh yeah, I've just heard so many great things about you. Well, we're not that big of a company. Like, we're really small. So the only way they've heard about us is by the stuff that we're putting on all those other channels. So that's something that we've been doing with the dark.
That's awesome. I love it. And I presume that when they come to your website, you have no way to track that they saw you on these social things, right? Because you can't put UTM. So you just consider them as direct. Yeah.
Yep. We get a lot of directs. Yeah. So we're using HubSpot and we are managing 2 different websites with that. And so it's hard. Sometimes the attribution breaks. It's really, really annoying. And honestly, that was the other thing is honestly, I've just given up on worrying about it. Like I know that the motions we're making on other platforms and some of the stuff is working. And so that's all I'm worried about now is like, if I launch a new campaign. So the next level of what we're trying to do is we've come up with some really cool content that we're going to now put into ads where, again, I'm not trying to capture an email or anything. I'm just going to put it out there. I've got audiences that have our specific users in them. So I don't need to worry about like the algorithm figuring it out. I'm just going to put more and more content out there because I know that that's how people are just consuming it. They wait 6 months. It's an interesting thing because of any business's buying process. Some companies come to us and they're like, I'm trying to do this right now. I've got my boss breathing back down my neck. And others are people are like, this is something I really need for my business, but I'm doing a rebranding right now, so I can't do it. So it's like, we just are maintaining conversations and just trying to find ways to put more and more content out there. So when people are ready, they'll come and they'll schedule a time.
That's right. Yeah, the growth of this direct attribution is actually a good sign. We had that at Chili Pepper. If all of a sudden you have more and more direct people coming to your website, it means in some way you're doing something right? Because obviously, like you said, you're a small company, we're not that big ourselves, and if people don't come randomly, they hear about you.
And there's different buyer personas. A developer might be doing all the research. They do the Google article. They maybe even register. And then I randomly get somebody comes in direct. They come through, they sign up, they give us their credit card. I have no clue where they came from. And then I find out later, oh, my developer just told me to sign up. And that developer could have seen us like a week ago or a month ago. So trying to track how those people are doing stuff is just, we're trying, but we're not trying that hard.
Yeah, no, same with us. So now we have a process. We have a process when every account executive, when they start the first meeting, a demo, they have to ask, how did you hear about us? And we're trying to give a little bit of attribution. But as I said, in our case, like in our marketing, 90% of our inbound flagged as direct, which means that really the dark funnel, right? And so, as I said, it's a bit scary because you don't know what's working, but you do know something is working. I love this idea of answering questions on social. When we started our community work, actually, by the way, Arthur just got an award for our community work, right, Arthur? What was the company that gave you that award?
Yeah, it was an award recently from Octopus, Best B2B Community Program that we won here at Chili Pepper.
So we did something funny, the community program. I hired a guy who had built a community. So he had built a group in the community. His name is Dan. He works with Arthur. And I said, Dan, build a community. And Dan came back 4 weeks into it and said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do what you hired me to do. I said, but why not? He said, because there are a lot of communities already out there. And why would we go and compete with them? Instead, we're going to help them and going to get into community and work with them. And he built this program where there's something like a list of 20 communities that we heavily involved now, along the line of what you said, Matt, where we try to be helpful. So we actually sponsor them. So giving money is always helpful, at least to some people, right? But we also try to provide content, answers, and that has been amazing, really amazing. So it's one of the big things we did in the dark funnel is involvement in the community. And of course,
we have some.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say there's some really tight communities around like Shopify and WooCommerce that are involved in what we do, and they are paid sponsorships. So we're really close to going back to doing that because it's tons of engagement, because you get a community of like 5,000, 10,000 people that have one or two people that like lead that community. And that person says, go look at this. And then all those people, it's just like micro influencers. And we found that to be really, really effective in the past too.
In my experience, Matt, it's not an overnight process. It takes a long time. Did you experience the same thing, that you start to do something, you see nothing, and eventually it happens?
Those ones are a little bit different in that you're paying for like an email blast or for that person to basically highlight you on a podcast or something like that. And so you see a very quick like uptick, but being involved in those communities is longer term. You can become entrenched as like the subject matter expert, so that other people direct other questions to you. And that part is like a longer
longer process. That's what we found too, that you answer one question, two questions, you still
Right.
there's a critical mass to reach.
Absolutely.
So that the communities has been a massive success for us in investment success. And then the other piece, of course, is social. So we in the dark funnel, we didn't do much on social, and we really pushed that. I must say a large part of it is around recruiting, because of course we originally play part, but also around pipeline generation, getting much more involved. We started with LinkedIn, and we went from was something like the 300 followers to 30,000 followers on LinkedIn, something like that, Arthur, right? So because we really and we just posted something that hopefully I will share at the end of this call that we very happy with. And it's been the same at the beginning. It doesn't seem to move the needle much, and then you reach critical mass and it becomes a massive pipeline generator and candidate generator. I've seen so many candidates. I interview everybody who come to me and say, "I see all the cool stuff you do on LinkedIn. I thought I want to be part of that movement." So it's and then we extended beyond LinkedIn to Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, which works very, very well for the recruiting, but also for pipeline. So it's actually, I wouldn't make them our main channels, but definitely as a kind of a side support for the thing that has worked very well. I'm curious, is anybody else here on either TikTok or Instagram? Why don't you put a plus if anybody is actually actively, so not posting here and there, but actively doing stuff on TikTok and Instagram?
I think Chris Walker actually started this trend. I didn't hear from any in B2B marketing space talking about TikTok, but then I saw Chris said, I see positive signals on TikTok, and so many folks started, hey, I'm going on TikTok, I'm going on Instagram. But at the same time, there is one thing that Chris also shared on this summit. He told a really important thing. He told, look, guys, before starting with experimentation, define 2-3 core channels, right? Scale them, make operations, make sure that these channels work, and then dedicate at least 3 months to start the experiments, right? Not go all into TikTok or Instagram and expect that the pipeline will be coming. But let's do a quick check, guys. If you are active on TikTok and on Instagram, type plus, and if you are not active, type minus. I'm really curious to see. I'm not active neither on TikTok nor on Instagram. But we're trying to get there.
That's right, trying to get there. I think the point you, Chris Walker, made is very correct, and that's how we did it too. If you go straight to TikTok without a social media presence, it's not going to work. But by then we'd built our presence on LinkedIn, and the other ones were like add-ons, right? So they're supportive channels; they're not main channels, and like to amplify what we do. And I think that's what has worked very well for us.
Yeah, and absolutely. You need to dedicate some time, right? So you can't just, show up for 5 minutes a day and expect that you'll get some results from that engagement.
That's right.
So we have one question from Jen. Jen, let me, go ahead, please.
You tricked me on the video. I'm going to stop it because I'm kind of in my Friday world here. So my question is, so with the acknowledgement that we do have a dark funnel and there's no way to track everyone, and that it's really important to be able to talk to salespeople immediately, do you, from a campaign marketing standpoint, still use that marketing funnel as sort of a framework and guide to ensure your website and your digital presence can give that target customer the information they need to convert on that final request to talk to sales?
Do you mind repeating the question,
Sure.
Jen?
So basically, it's that I think that we need to still use the marketing content sales funnel as a framework to ensure the right information is available on our website, so people can decide for themselves and do that experience of who we are as a company to decide to work with us, so that we should look at the top of the funnel and the middle of the funnel and the bottom of the funnel content, to give them what they need digitally, even though we can't see them consume that information, to be able to get strong leads, so that it's still a useful framework. It's just not something that's linear or something that we can measure.
You're talking about mapping your content to the buyer journey, right?
Yeah.
So, and including enable salespeople with so that absolutely is still working and should continue. We've had that in some of pages that we've boosted conversion by 50% by adding the right content. Now that we understood where the prospect stood in the prospect. And the same thing with our enable sales team. It's actually work in progress. We don't do it, it's not perfect at what we do, but we are definitely providing the content that they need in the different stages of the sales process. So that still applies. And you're right, to some extent it's still the traditional marketing funnel, with top of funnel, mid funnel, bottom funnel. Top of funnel being people haven't made a decision yet, they're just interested in having discussions, versus when they're much closer to the decision. So that is true, that is still valid, and absolutely you're right, the content should be mapped to these stages. What we have found though is that the speed is very different. So people can go from
Right.
the top of the funnel to the bottom much faster.
Or right away.
You know, right away, exactly. And you have people who hear for the first time and then close in the afternoon. So, and I think something that's not often mentioned, but is very fundamental, is that we make a lot more decisions now than 10 years ago, especially in buying things. So, for example, we all know that our stack now has a lot more products than it used to be. Like I was talking to a friend who has another startup. He says, "This is amazing. I can keep finding little tools that are super helpful and super cheap." Right? I don't know how many tools we use at Chili Pepper, but it's a lot, right? And so, if you're going to procure, I don't know, something that helps you find the email address of somebody, or something that what would be an example? Something that helps post reviews on your website. So I think it's called testimonials, where we decided that we should have reviews, and we use a little tool to do that. You're not going to spend 6 months to make that decision, right? You're just going to go and say, okay, let's do it. It's cheap, and we do it. So people make a lot more decision, and as a result, the sales cycle can be very short. Sometimes they're not, but sometimes they are. And as a result, everything needs to be prepared. So that's what we call fixing the leaky funnel. Everything has to be optimized so that any time in the speed, you don't lose them, because if you wait 5 days to get back to somebody, well, it's too late, right? They've just already procured that thing. So the speed is completely different from what it used to be, and the amount of decisions that we all make and our prospects make is much higher, and that's a reality that we all have to adapt. And that includes what you're saying, Dan, in providing the right content. You don't want to have people to have to wait to find that information. It has to be on the website. It has to be immediately sent by the salespeople. It has to be immediate.
Yeah, that's really helpful. And then do you use for metrics? Do you still use the marketing sales funnel, even though it's anonymous data?
So we do not. I'm not sure.
So what I mean is
go ahead.
That like what we all care about, right, is the revenue, and what we care about is that final destination point of talking to sales and making a purchase. But do you still look at the quality of content that you have in anonymous conversions against that funnel? So if you have content for the middle, and how many people are engaged in that, and then how many people go to the next stage? It's anonymous, but it's not. But it is.
Yeah. So no, we don't. We in that respect, as I mentioned, we do this multi-touch. So we don't. If let's say we don't track this, if we go from touch 2 to touch 3 and it's converting well, we just look at the first engagement and then whether a touch, and as long and we just measure that this this touch has happened. That's how we do it, as opposed to, and then we look at typical conversion and how many of this particular content has been we call it an overlay. So how many times this content have been an overlay on the winning the deal, and that's how we're going to measure the effectiveness of it. So not so much on converting. Go ahead.
You said that again. I didn't fully understand it.
So it's not so much of where we're able to go from step 3 to step 2 to step 3. It's a lot more of how many times was this piece of content involved in a successful journey.
And the way you do that is by people say how they. I mean, how do you do that part? Because that's still
in this case I mentioned that we've deployed a full stack of so we track on the website what they look at, and then we use Snowplow and Snowflake to upload all this data. And so by the time somebody reveals themselves, we know everything they've looked at. And
I'm sorry. Sure, we have procut, and it does something similar, I think.
Yeah, it does something. There's some subtleties on why Procut and HubSpot don't do it quite right. And I write an article about that. But overall, that's the idea, yes. And so we look at what articles actually influencing the things, but as I said, more of as part of a multi-touch, not as from one step to the other. So less linear in how we think of it.
Yeah. Thank you.
This is perfect transition going back into this all in multi-touch, because that multi-touch is exactly what that. So if we see that an SDR gets a response from a company, and the response is lukewarm, and say, this looks interesting, but timing is not right. Like who was saying, it was Matt, I think, we say we were doing a website. No, it's not a good timing, right? So there's always a good reason why it's not a good timing. Well, then we're going to take that account and put it into all our motions. So we're going to start targeting with advertising. We're going to start targeting in communities. We may even invent them to one of these wonderful dinner that Arthur put together. We're just going to try to engage in the, that's why we call it all in. So all the motions are going to try to engage the account, and we're going to try to get further touches with that account all the way until that results into a conversion. That's the approach we take.
And maybe in the end, as I know you have prepared several case studies, maybe it makes sense that you'll share your screen and share these case studies. I believe that would be really interesting to learn.
Yeah, I'll good idea. So I'll start with
can you share your screen?
Yeah, you see my screen, no?
No.
Yeah, I see it, Andre.
Yeah, I can't see. Weird.
Let me share again. How about now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have 3 examples. The first one is what Gong does with Chili Pepper. They use our concierge solution for their form, but they do more. They also use Clearbit. So when somebody comes to here, as you can see, it's on this GIF. When somebody comes to the Gong website, they just put in their email address, and immediately from Clearbit, they get all the information they need to route and qualify this prospect. So upon submitting an email address, a prospect is going to see, as you can see here, this is Chili Pepper in action, a calendar to book a meeting. So imagine it's a 2-step process. You put your email, next thing you click a time, and you've booked a meeting. That the ultimate in removing friction and optimizing that conversion from marketing to sales, right? From that interest in a website to actually a booked meeting with a rep. I'm going to go to that one. The other
I'm sorry, just to interrupt you, because it's a really great example, and last year we covered it with you in details, that case study, right? And because Gong also disqualifies folks, they have Clearbit enrichment, and if the account is a bad fit, they disqualify it. So they have like a thank you screen saying, sorry, probably Gong is not the right solution for you. So for you guys, even if you are watching us live right now, I will send you the link to that case study so you can see how Gong did it, right? And for those who are listening to the recording, just check the link, probably in the description, you'll find as well the link to that case study. That was a really good one.
That's right. Exactly. You're exactly right. They use the information to disqualify the lead. Then we have another case study with Sendoso on the handoff between SDRs and AEs. So, the SDRs are working hard to get interest. And then they say, we're going to book you with an AE. The main problem there is the no-show rate. And the reason why no-show rate happened is because SDRs, somebody says, yes, I'm interested in having a meeting, but the setting up of the meeting takes too much time. So by then the prospect may or may not accept the invite and then not show. So we have a product TD Pepper to do a real-time handoff so that in real time the SDRs can find with right rep for the prospect is and book with them. And as you can see, Sendoso went up to 92%. They were like losing 30 or 40% of their meetings we no show, and they went to 8%. Simply by the fact of booking the meeting immediately in real time and getting the prospect to accept the meeting and then send reminders for the meeting. And then I'm going to show the third case study because I want 3 minutes for our last conclusion, which is once the deal is closed, then you have to worry about expansion and renewal, right? And so what you want to do is get the account to value as fast as possible, right? So time to value from the moment where they say they signed the contract to the moment where they are getting value from the software. So a patient pop, they also use TD Piper so that upon closing a deal, immediately the AE, the account executive, is going to book with a CS. And that way, there's no waiting on saying, let me introduce you to the CS team. Why don't you find the time? You close the deal, you already have a meeting started to get a meeting with a customer success to get you started. And that's a massive improvement to the compared to the traditional process. So Andre, do I have 2 minutes to show our announcement of the day?
No, you can do it. We have more than 2 minutes. Even the scheduled 1 hour, nobody is going to kick us out from my Zoom room.
Okay, let me do it then. Let's see. Where am I playing that? Sorry. Here we go.
This has to stop. Thousands of prospects are being left in the dark. Are they qualified? Are they not qualified?
This is what
we gotta let them know.
That's a reminder. Today is April 1st.
Darling, you got to let me know. Should I stay or should I go? If you say that you were mine, I'll be here till the end of time.
Am I not even qualified? If I'm not qualified, that's fine, but dude, you have to tell me.
Look, I can deal with rejection. That's fine. Just tell me.
Today, we are thrilled to announce the next generation of sales and prospecting technology.
Should I stay or should I go now?
RCPD, the radically candid prospect disqualifier. The AI-powered solution for this indecision. Telling your prospects the truth just as it is. No more beating around the bush. Your inferior prospects will get the radical candor they deserve. RCPD also comes with voice synthesis features so that you can impersonate your favorite characters to deliver the bad news.
How about no?
Disqualify those ridiculous Gmail and Yahoo email prospects. Don't wait any longer. Tell your unqualified prospects the truth today with the RCPD. Available April 1st. Chili Piper. Make meetings happen. Sometimes.
So you gotta let me know. Should I stay or should I go?
That was awesome. I'm going to be the first user of that product.
I love the mini-me voice to it. Said, how about no?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, guys. How did you like this webinar? Was it useful? Was it insightful? Did you learn something new? Just share with us in the Zoom chat. Type plus, thumbs up, fire, heart, whatever you prefer. 3 pluses. I love any feedback.
Thanks, Carlos.
Is really good. Thanks, Carlos. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Robert. Yeah. Maybe emoji if you prefer emojis, just share the hearts, fires, whatever. Or minus if you didn't like it. So we'll try to do a better job next time. That's also good feedback.
All right, I've been running. Thank you, Andre, for inviting us, and thank you everybody for your comments. Loved it.
Thank you
Bye,
so
guys.
much. And
Bye.
thanks again, everybody, for attending our assignment. That was a blast. See you potentially this autumn for the first edition for Full Funnel Summit. Have a good weekend, everybody. Cheers.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.